Guys, something that's just in my spirit today that I'm going to talk about is this. The reason why many believers are still experiencing strongholds and things of that nature, a lot of the reasons why your family and loved ones are not being saved is because you don't have that same type of intensity for other people's families, loved ones, and when they're going through problems. You want your son and your daughter to be saved, but you're not praying for anybody else's sons and daughters. You want all these things, but when it comes to other people, your approach to them is very kind of half-hearted and laid back. You're not witnessing. You're afraid to witness to somebody. You're afraid to tell somebody about Jesus. You are keeping your mouth shut in certain settings because you don't want, you don't want to get involved. And it's the same way somebody that is a believer that may see your son or your daughter that they can actually land an impact. They're afraid to approach your son and daughter. They're afraid to speak the truth to your husband or to your wife in their wrongdoing because you're doing the same thing in another setting. There's a lot of people that's praying hard for deliverance. They're praying hard for this and that. They want a reconciliation, but then they are not praying that for other people. They're not giving that to other people. They're not giving reconciliations to others. You're in another arena talking down someone's marriage and what's going on in their marriage and in their relationship, and you're talking about how bad their kids are or whatever the situation may be, but then you're also praying for God's mercy and grace in your own life. You see, you don't want to witness. You're afraid to witness, so somebody else will be afraid to witness to your child. You're afraid to speak truth, so somebody else will be afraid to speak truth. If you don't obey God and you're not listening to God, how do you expect your halfway saved husband or your husband or wife who's struggling to obey him? You're not obeying, but you're praying for them to be obedient only so they can treat you better. A lot of times people pray for things because they want things to be more comfortable. You want your son and your daughter to be saved so they can act better or they can stop shaming you. But do you really care about their souls? And if you are only caring about them, but you're not praying fervently for someone else's son or daughter, why is someone going to be joining in prayer and praying fervently for your own? This is not a disrespectful video, guys, but I need y'all to understand it. A lot of times, some of the things that goes on and the setback that we have is because all too often, all we're thinking about is ourselves, our group, our people. And we have to go outside of that. We have to pray not only for us and only our friends and those who request it, but you need to pray for the salvation of, of children, reconciliation of children and parents together. Even if you don't have it, you pray for that for other people. And God perhaps may bring you back together with whoever you need to be back with. If you have a child that you want them to be healed, you pray for someone else's child that's sick and in the hospital. Don't just focus on yourself. Don't just focus on what's going on with you. Sometimes someone has a child in the hospital and you pray for that person one time and you forget all about them. You know what I do if there's anything I forget? I said I pray for everybody on the entire planet. Every human being, everything that they're going through, every believer, all my brothers and sisters in the Lord, those who need you, Lord, those who are still lost. And you can't miss anything with that. Because I know it's important that I'm praying for other people. Because then you know what? When others are praying for me, not only by the virtue of their prayer will God move and I will get peace, but the fact that I'm praying for others that don't even know me. And that I don't even know. We have to think about other people, guys. Too often prayers and witnessing and doing right to people is based on, we only think about how we want that for ourselves and those we care about. If someone does something to you and they make a mistake and you have no mercy on them, you're unyielding and unbending, that very thing can happen to someone in your own family where they don't get mercy, they don't get forgiveness, or you will find yourself in a situation where you don't get mercy, you don't get forgiveness. You see? Everything comes full circle, and it comes full circle, and it could come on those in your house, especially when they have that same, if they have a wicked spirit, or they have that same attitude that they learned from you, or they see, or they've developed. It's easy for the powers of darkness to come in. Let's consider others, guys. If you're half stepping when it comes to other people, if when other people are in distress, you are half stepping, when your brothers and sisters are in crisis, if it does not become your crisis and you want to be there for them, then you should not expect much for yourself. The word of God says, do unto others as you will have them to do unto you. If someone is in duress, then you go and you seek out your brother and sister and you pray for them, and you do what you need to do as the Lord leads you to uphold them. Don't be lazy about that, because you will be in a place where you need it. And if they have been in a place to be there for you and really come through for you, right? And it's not about tit for tat, but when you have people where God has placed people in your life, or you've had a brother or sister in the Lord that's really come through for you and labored with you and reached out for you and came and picked you up and just held you up. And then when they're going through, you're like, oh, okay. Guys, I'm telling you, that's going to come full circle again. We must have an urgency for one another, as if it was your own flesh and blood, as if it was you. We must have that fervency and that fire for one another. Do unto others as you will have them to do unto you. If you're half stepping with people when they're in distress, then that's what's going to happen to you. If you are not faithful and loyal to someone who's faithful to you, and you don't forgive, you're unmerciful, you're unyielding, you know that's going to come back, right? So let's walk in the principles of God, not so we can avoid things, but so we can really understand the joy of our salvation and how we are supposed to be treating one another. All right, guys.